if we do look at the Eastern Conference right now, it's the Chicago Bulls. Who would have thought? They're 5-0, number one seed. You got the Philadelphia 76ers right behind them at the second seed and 4-1. The Bucks are also 4-1 with the third seed. And you got the Miami Heat at 3-2 with the 4 seed. And the Pistons are currently sitting at the 5th seed at 3-2, tied with the Miami Heat. So I wanted to ask you this question. 5 games in, where do you see them finishing in the Eastern Conference? I know it's really early on. Like right now, the Knicks are a play-in team. There's just a lot going on, but where do you think the Pistons could end up finishing?
I kind of like them where they're at. I don't think there's really anything early on in the season to say they're going to really elevate way up above to the top. I also don't think there's anything to say they're going to be like a bad team or a play-in team at this point. They got a wide range. Like I'm not changing my preseason prediction yet. Like I think their range is 7-4, depending on how other teams in the East shake out. And, let's talk after 15 games, right? If they're sitting there at, like, I don't know, 10-5, then okay, maybe we need to readjust our expectations. If it's the inverse, okay, now we need to go in the negative way, right? But this early on, like, the Bulls are exciting. They're talented. I really like Josh Giddey. They're not the best team in the Eastern Conference. We've played 5 games. Like, with the Sixers, I think they're super talented. But you're really worried about injuries there, right? Embiid's on a minutes restriction right now. Is that ever going to lift off? Is he going to get hurt again? Like, I'm not to like, jinx the guy or anything, because as much as I don't personally love watching him play all that much, like he's a superstar in this league. I'd like him to be healthy. I don't want him to be hurt, but
yeah.
But that's an issue there with the Sixers. I think the Bucks are legit. So. But I thought that before the season started too. So, it's just they need some time to let this all shake out one way or another. And where the Pistons are is kind of where I would have expected them to finish the year at. And I'm just going to stick to my guns on that. What about you?
I think they'll finish anywhere between 4 and 6 if I did have to guess. I mean, if you're looking at 2 teams in the Eastern Conference that were just talked about as title contenders coming out of the East, Cleveland is sitting at the 8 seed at 3-3. They lost to Boston. Boston looks like ever since they played the Pistons, they're starting to figure stuff out because they've had 2 really big wins. And then the Knicks, which I'm not surprised that they're 2-3, given Mike Brown trying to play that 0.5 offense. And I feel like Karl Anthony Towns has really struggled there. Chicago coming out the gate 5-0 is surprising, but as I told myself, this is such Chicago Bulls behavior. I said, watch this be the year that they decide, let's make the playoffs. Let's try to be, a top 6 seed. When this draft class, I'm telling you, they need a AJ DeBanza. They need a Cameron Boozer. Like they need more talent. The fact that they're starting off the gate 5-0, it's such a Chicago Bulls thing to do.
I mean, I don't know. They do have a lot of young talent. I got to give the Bulls a little bit of credit. Josh Giddey's a real piece to build around. I think Kobe White might be better off as a 6th man, but we haven't seen him yet this year. And if he can do what he did down the stretch last season, like there's your backcourt of the future already. They've got flexibility there too. I know Giddey just got an extension, but it's not like they maxed him out. So they've got some cap to play with. You've still got an asset there in Vooch who's playing out of his mind here through these 5 games. I don't even know if you really want to look at trading them, but if you do, someone at this point is going to give up a good chunk of goods to go and get them. I think Pat Williams is still interesting. They got Matas. That's an interesting prospect too. There's enough in Chicago where you can actually see some pathways forwards for them. I think if you like last year at the deadline, I was giving them such crap because it just made no sense. But now looking at it, they were right. I was wrong. Giddey's really taking a step. White's really taking a step. They've got some interesting young pieces, and they've still got some vets that they could flip at a deadline and get some more young pieces back for as well if they really want to. Like I still think Pat Williams is an asset. Someone would probably take a flyer on him, and he's not been awful to start this year. Like they've got some maneuverability. I think they're going to be okay. I don't everyone could use a Cam Boozer, but I think the Bulls are going to be all right.
I think they'll come back down to the reality because if you kind of look at just like
Yes,
they're they're
I agree with that.
they're they're not all going to shoot like 40-50% from three. I think they're just hitting their shots right now.
Yes.
I think they'll come back down to the reality. I did not see them coming out the gate is 5-0. I don't think they finished or started off that strong, probably over like the last 6 years or so. But
Mhm.
just kind of looking at the Eastern Conference, I think it's wide open. Like a team like the
Oh,
Hawks that
yeah.
a lot of people kind of they were like media darlings this offseason. I don't know if you saw the Hawks
Oh, me too.
conversation.
Yeah, I was a
Hawk,
big fan of what they did.
yeah, I was too, but I mean, like Kristaps Porzingis is already starting to have a little bit of not playing. He's kind of been like game time decisions, so it'll be interesting to
Magic
see.
are getting some of those questions as well, right? They were supposed to be,
Yeah,
a top seed, and yeah, they've struggled a little bit. Uh, Ultimately, it's talent kind of shakes out. So at this point, like, is Cleveland going to be the eighth seed? No, like
probably not.
they're they are by roster the best team in the East. So it's it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out.
Yeah, we're in November. Like, I'd be interested to see the watch this back like in January to see where everyone's at, like to see who's a top seed, and it's just kind of crazy, kind of just projecting that far out. But hey, it's a fun podcast topic, I think.
Yeah, I love it. And hopefully we look really dumb. We just said the Pistons are probably like 4-6, 4-7. Maybe they're number two, right? By the
Yeah,
time we get to the All-Star break or something. Like, let's be wrong in a positive way. Why do we have to be wrong in a negative way? Let's just, fingers crossed for that one. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to say they're going to be the fifth seed and then they close out at the second. Like, let's go. I can't wait for that.
yeah. I mean, they're still finding ways to win games without Jaden Ivey. I mean, I think they did it last year. They're doing it again this year. So I mean, he's set to get reevaluated in around 2.5 weeks or so. I think 2 weeks
Mhm.
will be the start of next week. So fingers crossed it is good news. And maybe you could get him in late November, possibly to come back. You never know.